And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Cyrus Webb Presents. Hope you are doing well today as we're continuing our 10-part series with someone who is a friend of this program, but also someone who's written a great book. I'm talking about Dr. Teresa A. Smith. The book is called Transformation. You all see it there. We've already gone through the first 5 messages of the book. Today we're talking about message number 6, Embrace Humility. An interesting one. We're going to do a different slant on this with Dr. TAS today. If you guys are new to her book, make sure you guys do head over to Amazon to be able to get it for yourself. And also remind you how you can stay connected with Dr. TAS. Hello to you, Andre. Hope all is well with you. Good to see you. And there is Dr. TAS. Going to go ahead and bring her in. Also, keep in mind, if you guys have any questions for Dr. TAS, we're going to let you guys know how to be able to get those questions answered. As well as make sure you guys are following Dr. TAS as well. Again, today we're talking about message 6 from her book. So make sure you guys do stay tuned up for that. Also, we'll be letting you guys know how you guys can stay connected with Dr. TAS. And you notice she's going to switch things up here on Instagram as well, even giving us a cooking segment as well. Dr. TAS, how are you?
I'm great, Cyrus. How are you?
Doing amazing. Glad to see you. First of all, congratulations on the cooking segment the past weekend, depending on how our viewers are watching us. Great job there. Enjoyed being able to see your personality come through there. We're going to remind
Thank
them how
you.
they can stay connected with you and all the great things. So this is an interesting one, Dr. TAS. I'm going to do a different slant on this today,
Okay.
based on one sentence from the message that you have, because I think for people of faith, they'll be aware of the account that you share in message 6. Some may not be, but there's a sentence that you have in this I think is really powerful. So, embracing humility, you say this, and when you're talking about the account about Jesus and his friend Lazarus, you say, irrespective of why Jesus cried, and everyone knows those 2 words, that word, one sentence, 2 words, Jesus wept. Irrespective of why Jesus cried, you wrote, it demonstrated his willingness to honestly connect to his humanity. So I'm interested in this. When we're talking about transformation, this may seem a little odd for some people, Taz, for us to talk about transformation and transforming and embracing humility. Talk to us about the connection that you want us to get there.
Cyrus, it's like 2 sides of the same coin, or the opposite sides of the same coin. And I was preparing for this session, and it's like a contradiction almost. And maybe I'll be able to explain it well.
Okay.
To embrace your humanity, you've got to be willing to not only see yourself as significant, but to see other people as significant.
Yeah.
And for me, it means that you've got to be able to empathize, sympathize. You got to have kindness. You've got to be able to understand what folks are going through. And the caveat that I want to put there that I think makes sense for what Christ may have been going through. He didn't have an agenda.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to sympathize and empathize with people when you know that you want something from them.
Mm-hmm.
So you go along with the program. But he didn't want anything from Lazarus. He didn't need anything from any human being except for us to be willing to accept that he was the path to eternal life. So when we talk about that humanity and that humility, he really demonstrated, because it's being outside of yourself, meaning your needs, your wants don't matter. Really focus on the other person and what their desires are. And so I think that for me, I chose this particular scripture because as a little child growing up in church, we used to recite Bible verses, and adults would say Jesus wept.
Mm-hmm.
But nobody really ever explained why he wept.
Yeah.
And the significance of that. And so to me, it's just a linkage to his humility, his humanity. And we know that he was humble. And I think when you're looking at transforming, it's so important to remain humble, because sometimes we think if things are going well, let me say that differently. Sometimes we have a tendency when things are going well, we put Jesus or God or whatever we believe in, we put it on a shelf.
Yeah.
But when things are not going well, we pick them up again.
Mm-hmm.
And so with that humility, it's like you don't put him on a shelf. you should always have him, or whatever it is that you believe in, you should always carry that with you, because we're always going to have up and down days. And just like with him crying or weeping, as we say, that was a down moment for him because he was in the flesh. But he had something that he was carrying, so therefore he was able to rise up quickly. And that's what we want to be able to do, particularly when we're going through transformation and dealing with things that perhaps we don't want to really explore.
Yeah. Taz, I have to say something. You and I want to say, Taz and I purposely don't discuss these before we have our segment, because I want to come to it fresh from my perspective of reading it and sharing it with the audience, but then to be able to bring her in as the author, because I'm like you guys. I'm reading it, and then we just have the benefit now of hearing from the actual author as to her intended message. But I have to say, and you may disagree with me on this, Todd, it'd be interesting to see. This is the first message in the book for me as a reader that almost seemed like it is more gender specific to women. Let me tell you why I say that. Because when I was first reading it, the title about embracing humility, and then reading the example about Jesus, some people see crying as a weakness. And that is more acceptable sometimes for us as men to do than for women, especially women. And let me tell you why I made the connection, because for those who are new, what TAS does in the book, she gives us a message, then she gives us a gleam recap, and then she gives us a reflect and connect. And one of the questions in reflect and connect for this was, summarize the last time you wept about a personal professional concern. And for some, that has been a big issue of how women are sometimes seen as being too sensitive, right? To think, which means a lot of times they don't show emotion because they feel like that's going to make them seem like they're not fit for the position. Can you get where I'm coming from as a reader? Why I would say that, Todd? And I'm curious, do you think that is, hey, Herschel, if all is well with you, do you think that is an issue that maybe women may not find as acceptable for themselves as men?
Now, I'm with you, Cyrus, and I was thinking as you were talking. So, are you saying that, is your question that women may find it more acceptable to weep versus men? Is that your real question, or is it the reverse?
Actually, I'm curious the opposite. Do you think, especially when you talk about the professional setting, maybe personally, yes, but the professional setting, do you find that there is a difference? Well, maybe I should ask you that question. Do you think that we're, even in 2022, that we are acceptable as, let's just say, a professional woman being able to show emotion and not being seen as being weak?
Well, I'm Black, for those who didn't know. And I'm just going to go there because it's 2022. As I keep telling everybody, it's 2022. As a Black woman and a professional Black woman, I can never show any emotion. Because anytime I show any emotion, immediately I'm the angry Black woman. And I'm sorry, it's a stereotype, but it's still a stereotype that holds true. If I'm not the angry Black woman, I'm viewed as contrary. I'm never viewed as inquisitive.
Yeah.
Because I may be asking questions because I'm trying to understand what we're doing and what I can bring to the table to enhance the plan. But if I ask questions and I'm shot down, or people don't respond to me, or they take a long time to respond to me, you basically have said to me, what you think doesn't matter, and I'm putting you on a shelf.
Yeah.
And you are, and let me go Southern because I'm Southern. Children are to be seen and not heard. Yeah. That's what you're saying to me as a professional. Now, whether it's intentional or not, that's what you're doing. And the thing is, when we start talking about women professionally, or we're talking about people of color professionally, we still live in a world where it's difficult for people to understand that just because I belong to a certain group, I'm not of that group. Yeah. Some people are of that group, meaning that you can take all the stereotypes that you've ever heard and you may be able to attribute it to that person. Right. But let's be real. Most of us, we belong to different groups or ethnic groups, but we're so diverse.
Yeah.
We're so diverse. You're a Black man.
Yeah.
You're from the South.
Right.
We got a few things in common.
Hmm.
But there's so much that we don't have in common. And some folks will say, well, y'all not, you weren't brought up together, you're from different states. But for some people, when
Yeah.
they see us, they're going to automatically say, oh, Cyrus and Teresa, they both black, they from the South, they same type of people. No.
Yeah.
And the reason transformation and that question is so critical, Cyrus, is I often talk with my clients when I'm working with them getting into that mind space where you reprogram yourself. You may say, what do you mean reprogram? Even as children, it's sort of unintentional, but in families, people think that we're all the same.
Yeah.
Now, it's three of us, it's three girls, and we're so different. I mean, my sisters, I love them to death, but I think they would be honest and say, we're very different. Got the same parents, raised the same way for the most part. You know, I got a young sister, but basically she still got the same upbringing that we did, but we're different. So
Yeah.
when you talk about this idea of can I show emotion as a professional Black woman? No, because it's going to be misconstrued. And so therefore I have to almost always keep on I think it's the Freudian blank, it's a blank expression
Hmm.
because and then some we do a lot of Zoom these days, and sometimes I catch myself, I look up, I'm like, oh, you're looking like you're upset. They're
Hmm.
thinking you're upset. It
Yeah.
never enters their mind that I'm thinking. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry guys, when I'm thinking, it's just my mind is just I'm thinking. I'm not conscious of what my facial expressions look like because
Right.
I'm actually thinking. But
Yeah.
to other individuals, because they don't take the time, unfortunately, to get to know us as individuals, they think something is wrong. Well,
Yeah.
nothing is wrong. But no, as a Black woman in today's world, no, I can't show any emotions on the job because I'm going to get a lot of pushback from that.
Well, and Tosh, that's why I needed to go there with this particular one. Again, this is the first one I feel like it's more gender. There is a difference in the way men and women, because even in the biblical account, again, for those who are just coming in, you're watching Cyrus Represents. I'm here with Dr. Teresa Smith. Dr. TAS is what we call her. We're discussing her book, Transformation. You guys see it there. There are 10 messages in this book. We've already gone through the first 5 before today. Today, we're on message number 6. And message number 6, it is about embrace humility, but we're also talking about embracing your humanity as well. And in the for those who are Bible readers, she gives the account about Jesus and his friend Lazarus. And it's even interesting in that account, Taj, when people read it, when people see him crying, they say, "Oh, what love he had for him." I
Mhm.
mean, now that's them saying this about him. And so it's interesting when I was reading this, I thought, huh, I'm not sure everyone would look, if that was a woman, I'm not sure they would look at that and say the same thing today.
Mhm.
That's not what we would say. Hello to you, Kimberly. Good to see you. So that's why I think I thought for myself, you know what, this one is breaks down really more on gender lines more than any of the other ones. So I'm curious,
Mhm.
even though and again, you and I have not discussed this ahead of
Mhm.
time, does it surprise you that I brought up that connection? And then,
Well, Sash, you know how I am about this, and anybody that works with me, every time I pick up something, something else comes out. And
mhm,
it's not surprising, Cyrus, because I'm thinking about your previous question, and I'm thinking about Mary and Martha.
mhm,
Now, at first, and I'm thinking about this guy, so I'm gonna be making some expressions because I'm thinking as I'm talking.
yeah,
When when I think about, because Mary and Martha is important to me for something else. And those who know about Mary and Martha and something else, they'll know what I'm hitting at. It's another organization. But when I think about Mary and Martha, I'm just throwing out some, they're heroines. They're celebrated because of their faith, their trust, their belief in Christ and what he could do because of his love for their brother Lazarus.
mhm,
Now you went to gender, and I'm gonna hang with gender, but I'm gonna hang with race too,
okay,
because the question would be if it was a person of color who was going on about the fact if you had got here on time, my brother wouldn't have died. So let's, now they're talking about Christ, but think about it if we were talking about the EMS folks.
yeah,
If they had gotten to my neighborhood, my zip code, in a timely fashion, perhaps whomever would not have had to suffer for the length of time. Perhaps they didn't die, but they wouldn't have had to suffer for the length of time that they suffered. So when you look at this particular message, I think it's very rich with things that we're dealing with even today. I think the disappointment and the maybe sort of, I'm going to use you say disappointment because he didn't come when they thought he would have come. I think that that's important. And I wondered, going back to what you were saying originally, would it have been different if they had been men?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, would
I'm sorry. No, and so that's why I think this particular message is an interesting one for audience to think about. Again, I spoke very broadly because I felt very broadly about the first five, because I didn't see when you're talking about change is challenging, and those are, to me, that's for everybody. But for this one, when we even say the word humble or say humility or thinking about humanity, there is a difference in the way the world looks at things, and I think that is what makes it interesting, especially when it comes to the questions. TAS, another question that you asked that kind of ties into what we're talking about here is, did you feel better after you cried? Why or why not? And for some people, I think about, there are some individuals that if they do show emotion, they may feel better, but the other person may look at them a certain way. However, there is a time when you're feeling that compassion with somebody else. I think about Oprah. Let's just use Oprah for an example. Oprah would cry with everybody, and people connected with that. Talk to us about that, because there is a positive side to this too, because especially in your work that you do in working with clients, there may come a time when you have to weep with those who weep. That's scripture also. What has that been like for you to kind of get people to think about that it's okay? Maybe the world doesn't view it okay, but it's okay for you to be able to connect with yourself that way.
I think it's freeing, Cyrus. I was writing something earlier this morning, and I was writing about being paralyzed. And I think when we're not in touch with our emotions, or we're in touch with our emotions, but we don't want to demonstrate our emotions, we keep ourselves paralyzed. So, like you said, I cry. Well, I'm sorry if I make you feel uncomfortable, but I needed to shed a tear at that moment. I shouldn't have to um, suppress my emotions in order for someone else to feel comfortable. Now, of course, we're going to demonstrate our emotions appropriately. And of course, we're talking about crime right now, but it could be other things. But I shouldn't have to suppress that so that someone else feels comfortable. Because think about it. If I'm suppressing my emotions, I'm suppressing a part of me that is important. So if I'm willing to suppress that, what else am I willing to suppress? And pretty soon I have changed who I am in order to get along, go along, and be a part of the crowd. Yeah. But am I winning? No, I'm not winning. The crowd is winning. And I'm still really becoming a shell of a person, and I don't have anything to rest on. And to me, that's crippling. It's very crippling for really trying to live your best life or trying to grow in all aspects of who we are. I think that's very crippling.
Yeah, and I think what you just said ties in perfectly with the whole message of this book. Because if we still allow other people to stop us from feeling what we need to feel, to go there where we need to go there, to feel that empathy, we'll never be able to transform, because we'll stay connected to what other people think we should be doing more so than what is right for us. And I'm going to be very transparent. I had a moment happen a couple years ago, Taj, you may remember this, where I was, a friend of mine had died, an unfortunate death. And I did a Facebook Live, and as soon as I started to go live, I said, you're going to end up crying. I do it, but I feel like I had to do it. And when I started crying, I caught myself saying, I'm sorry. And afterwards, I thought about that because I watched it back, and I said, why did I say I'm sorry for crying? That's a friend of mine that died, a friend of mine for over a decade that just died. But I realized the reason I was saying I'm sorry is because I'm looked at as someone who's strong, and and I'm the person in the family calls me the angel of death. I'm the one who always delivers the news, being there to comfort people. And here I was having an emotional moment, and that was unusual for me. So I think this is what I hope our audience as a reader, this is what I'm saying to you guys as a reader. My reading this message in the book, hey Melissa, hope all's well with you. Hey, Marion, good to see you. Good to see you as well, Cindy.
Hi,
What I
Melissa.
hope you guys get from this particular message about embracing your humility is knowing it's okay to not always be okay,
Yes.
regardless of how people see it.
Mhm.
And that's okay. That's part of your growth, because as soon as you start realizing, okay, you know what, this is a moment. And even as for those who read the biblical account, Jesus knew he was going to resurrect Lazarus, but it was an emotional time. And then you have his sister saying, if you had been here, he wouldn't have died. I mean, I would cry.
Yes.
I mean, that's an emotional thing, even though he knew what he was going to do. So I think, that is the thing for our audience. If transformation is going to happen, we have to be willing to take off that personality that says, I have to do what other people think I should be doing or react the way other people. We have to be ourselves. And only then, TAS, I believe, is the only way we can get to a place of transforming.
Absolutely, Cyrus. And the thing is, we've been taught not to be ourselves.
Yeah.
And that's because if I'm myself, then I got to worry about what you are feeling.
Right.
And the thing is, those people that I got to worry about, they not worrying about what I feel at all.
Right.
They don't care. They gonna be themselves, but I'm not supposed to be myself. And it's like you giving your identity to someone else. And then when you try to get it back, now understand people don't like that, because then it's like you got an attitude. They think that you shifted. So what's going on with you? You think you're this now. You think you're that now. When in actuality, you're just trying to be true to you.
Yeah.
But they want you to be true to them. And it's like, I can't be true to you if I'm going to be true to myself. Now, there will be some similarities and things can pair up sometimes, but you're asking me to forego who I am so that you feel comfortable. Now,
Yeah.
to me, there's something wrong with that.
Yeah.
Why do I have to forego who I am so that you feel comfortable? Come
Right.
on now.
Yeah. And that's why this is such an important message. Hey, PM Popcorn, good to see you. That's why this is such an important message as we're talking about transformation. Because again, if we can't get this component, and we're talking about fathers, mothers,
Yes.
executives, I mean, this goes for all of us. Because if you can't get to a place where you can be able to connect with your humanity, show humility, show empathy to other people, then there's no way you can change, because you always will be in that place of, I can't do this because of what other people may think. And this is why TAS begins the book with the first message. Changes is challenging. It's not easy to get to a place where you can say, you know what, this is what I need to do. This is what feels right. And we're living, especially now with everyone dealing with this pandemic, dealing with so much unrest in the world, so much angst, uncertainty. It's okay to be able to embrace that and to be able to let people know you can connect with them on a personal level, and ties, it goes even deeper than that. Sometimes it's just being able to say, I'm sorry, or
Oh,
I got
please.
that wrong.
Got it wrong.
And so it's not always you having to sit down and cry with someone, acknowledging the fact, you know what, I didn't handle that the right way. I'm sorry I snapped at you. I mean, that those little things can go such a long way, right, TAS?
They can, Cyrus. And the thing that I want folks to realize, that's for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not for the other person, because, I apologize to someone. They may or may not accept my apology. Well, I've done what I'm supposed to do. Remember, the Bible said forgive 70 times 7. I've gone to my brother, my sister, and I've apologized. I've admitted that I made a mistake on my job. I've done what I'm supposed to do. I have to get comfortable with that and get comfortable in the space that the individual, the job, whomever, they may not they may not demonstrate humanity or humility back to me, but that's okay, because it's not about them. It's about me. And as long as I continue to remember it's about me and my personal well-being, then it gets easier. Because again, we want to. I'm seeing I'm a counselor by training. I'm seeing Abraham Maslow in my brain. We want to self-actualize. I'm sorry, but I'm just seeing that in my brain. It's not this type of language supposed to be used here, but I'm seeing him in my brain, because meaning that we all want to be the best that we can be. We need people to be a part of our life, and we need positive relationships. But we got to understand sometimes it's just not going to be positive with everybody, but that's still positive.
Yeah.
Because if you are secure in yourself, it's a positive relationship. You know how to deal with that person. You be kind. And that's when that humility and humanity, you still be kind. You still be gracious. When you can help them, you help them. But you don't have to take no garbage from them now.
Yeah.
Because some people always dishing out a little garbage, a little shade.
Right.
You don't
Right.
have to embrace the shade. Embrace humanity and humility and do what you need to do and keep it moving.
Yeah. Such a great message. Again, everyone, message 6 from Teresa A. Smith's book, Dr. TAS' Book Transformation. It is available on Amazon. You all can get your copy in print or the Kindle edition. Next week is another powerful one, especially I think this is one all of us can benefit from. The importance of pouring into yourself and not running on empty. That's what we're going to be talking about next week. Make sure you guys join us back here at the same time. TAS, how can they stay connected with you?
Well, you can reach out to me on Instagram, Dr. Teresa Smith. I'm on Instagram all the time, and I got to put a plug in about my cooking. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I know that Cyrus will do me a really good a favor and put my YouTube channel link in the video, because he can do it much faster than I can. But please subscribe. And also, I've been posting all of the transformation series. They're also posted on my YouTube channel, so you can go and catch up there.
All right. And definitely you guys want to make sure you're following her. We'll put it in the stories too, Todd, so they can just click on it from there. Again, everyone, thank you all for joining us for message 6 of Dr. TAS' book transformation. If you missed any of the first 5 segments, don't worry. We did an hour special last week. You guys can catch it right here on Instagram, or you heard Todd said on YouTube. So make sure you guys do head over there and be able to take a look to catch up on the other 5 messages. But this one today is a really important one, especially as we look at now next week as well. The importance of making sure that you're not running on empty. So, Taz, I appreciate you as always and looking forward to next week.
All righty, Cyrus. See you guys next week. Bye now.
We thank you all for tuning into this episode of Cyrus Webb Presents. Until next week, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.